Hey guys, it's Keith. Welcome back to another video. This is a follow-up to the first video that I did on this Alpine stereo. So if you haven't seen the first one, definitely check out that video. So I'm putting this video together because there was a great response to the first one and a lot of questions came up, things that weren't in the first video because I didn't want the first video to be 2 hours long. There are literally so many settings in these stereos, it would take forever to do a video covering all of them. So I did the most important stuff in the first one, and this one's going to just cover some extra stuff, and also comments and questions in the first video. And I will put links for these two stereos in the description below. So let's jump in. One of the things that came up is the clock. There are people that want to know if the clock can be left on all the time, and it can. Just by pressing this button here, it toggles back and forth between the radio station and whether the clock stays on. So there's also a built-in dimmer in this stereo. If I start the car, you'll see the clock here, and the headlight's on, and the stereo went dim to at least half the brightness, and then you can see it jump back. This is much easier to see at night, but just know that there is a significant reduction in brightness to the human eye when this dimmer is used. And the reason you can't see it much of the camera is the camera is built to pick up low light, and so it doesn't see a big difference. But this is a good time to jump into the settings where the dimmer is, as well as many other things like changing color, crossovers, EQ, Bluetooth, auxiliary, USB, all kinds of stuff. As I said in the first video, what I really love about this stereo that stands out from other stereos is just how easy the user interface is. Almost all car stereos sound good today. The difference is how they operate and how difficult they are to use. That's where the Alpine stands out for ease of use. So what I really love is that when you press the setting button and you're not in the setup mode, it only shows you the stuff that you need to worry about. Bass, mid, treble, your subwoofer volume if you have one, balance, fader, and that's it. It doesn't clutter you up with all the gazillion settings that are stuck and stumbling over in so many other stereo brands. But when you want to get to those settings, you can. And that's what we're going to talk about. So to get into the setup, I hold down this musical note button here. And now it's going to take me into all different kinds of settings that I need to set the stereo up. So I can turn off the beep every time something is done. I can adjust the clock. I can put the radio in demo mode, which there'd be no reason to do that. That's for retail. You're not going to do much in there, but you will in audio. So in audio is where you can control your subwoofer level. You can control whether you want it in phase or out of phase. There is a low pass filter. And then to go back to the next menu level that you're at, you just press the back button. So audio control, so there's EQ presets. Okay, there's user and a bunch of other different ones. User means that you can adjust it. There's also a 3-band parametric EQ, and this is much more complicated than I want to get into. If you don't know about a parametric EQ, then don't worry about it. If you do know about it, it has one if you want to get in and really adjust things. There's also a high pass filter, so that is to save your speakers from low bass noises if you're running tweeters or running small speakers, especially if you have an amp. A lot of these are contained in amplifiers, but a lot of stereos are coming with them too. Then there's the display, which I've gotten various questions about. So one of the questions that comes up is, changing the colors of the display. And with this stereo, you can do both the key colors, which are these keys here, and then the display. They're two separate zones. So let's say I want to customize. There's a complicated way to do it where you can really get in and pick thousands of different colors. But I think most people will be fine with just the standard options that are here, like white, rose, pink, purple, blue, cyan, green. So there's lots to choose from here. Then I can also change the key color here. Now I like mine at white because I think it gives the most contrast, but I can get in here and do the same thing. Okay? I can have white, I can have whatever. Okay? I like cyan as well for that. The next thing you might want to do is your brightness. And there's brightness. And we were talking about the dimmer earlier. Here's where you can go in and change that, which is kind of nice. You can have it set for automatic, which means during a day like right now, it's nice and bright. Or you can have it off. Or you can have it on all the time. You can have the clock dimmed. Okay? Not this clock, obviously. The clock in the stereo. So I keep mine on auto. And blackout. Blackout, there's a setting in here where for long drives, or just driving at all after you haven't touched the stereo for a while, it goes totally dark at night. And that's great when you're in, you know, out in the wilderness or rural roads and you don't maybe want something so bright. I don't use that feature because I find that the dimmer works just fine, the automatic dimmer. But for people that really want to black out their display and not have anything happening until they touch it, that option's in there. Then there is a brightness. I keep mine on about 8. Goes up to 10. That takes us to Bluetooth. We just covered audio, EQ and stuff, and those high pass and low pass filters, by the way, those are called crossovers for people that are interested in that. So back into the setup. I want to set up my Bluetooth. I go in here, there's a pairing mode. Can have two, looks like I can have 2 different devices attached to this. I want my Bluetooth for my radio but not for my phone, so that's why I turned the auto answer off. So you would go in here and pair it and pair your phone, and the Bluetooth works really well. A backup plan to the Bluetooth, or if you don't want Bluetooth, is the auxiliary, and I'm going to show you that right now. So in the source button, I can use an auxiliary cord, 3.5 millimeter, basically headphone cord is all it is. Works really good. All right. So when you're using this feature, you want it turned up both on your phone and on the device. Okay? Don't max it out, but it won't work unless it's turned up on both devices. So I like that feature a lot, especially when the Bluetooth's getting finicky. What I will tell you about the auxiliary cord is, so the car's running right now, and it's super quiet. No buzzing, no alternator noise, and the cord matters, guys. I have a cord that is noisy, and so I got this cord and it works great. There's no noise. However, if you are charging your phone at the same time, it will introduce noise. So if you plug a USB into and charge your phone while you're using the auxiliary, it brings noise through the stereo, and it's pretty bad. So I wouldn't do that. I didn't notice that issue with Bluetooth at all. And then the last thing that I'll cover is the USB. I'm not going to go into detail with it, but I just will tell you that it does work, and a USB cable will charge the phone. That's another question people asked, is will the USB cable charge the phone? Yes. I think it's a little slower than a regular charger, but it will charge. And it just gives you access to folders and stuff on your phone. I don't use it that much, to be honest. And just want to add a couple things about the 175 model. So the BT-175 is almost identical to the 172, but it does add something called NFC. If you see the little letter N on the volume knob there on the 175, that means it has near field communication. You can take an Android phone and touch it to that knob and it will make a Bluetooth connection, so it's a little simpler. And then both of these stereos, I probably didn't mention this last time, they both support Pandora and they both will play FLAC files. And FLAC files are better sounding, less compressed MP3 files. That is really it as far as the extra features, guys, that I didn't cover in the first video. People have asked how loud it goes, and of course it goes up pretty high to 35, but you would never want to listen to it that loud. I don't think, at least, because the higher you turn things up, the more noise you introduce and distortion. Best sound is always going to come from an amp, quality amplifier, and then you don't have to turn your stereo up as loud. But yet the whole overall sound is louder and cleaner and stronger. So it's a great stereo. I would definitely buy this again. I hope I answered as many questions as I possibly could have from not including everything in the last video for time. If I missed anything else or there's something specific, please drop me a comment. I'd love to do my best to answer that for you. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. It does help us out. And I really appreciate you stopping by. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks.